Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is an upcoming action-adventure RPG being developed by Dontnod, the creators of Life is Strange and Vampyr, and published by Focus Entertainment. In this video, we're going to be doing a deep dive on everything we know so far about the game that comes out in a little over 2 weeks on February 13th. Much like Vampyr, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden will also feature branching narratives that the studio is known for, while at the same time combining that with RPG elements and combat to spice up the gameplay. We're going to be analyzing everything we know so far about the story, setting, core gameplay, RPG aspects, combat, and release info, so let's get into it. The story of Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is set in a fictional place called New Eden, located in North America during the late 17th century. In this world, there exists not only the realm of the living, but also the realm of the departed, where beastly and ghastly creatures exist, sometimes interfering with the realm of the living. The people who fight against the spirits of the world are known as Banishers, utilizing special equipment and special knowledge of spirits to banish them to the void. In this world, you play as a Scottish man with a majestic beard, Red Mac, and his lover and mentor, Antia Duarte. During one of their missions to banish a ghost, Antia was killed in action, leaving Red Mac alone in his path of being a banisher. However, Antia somehow manages to return as a spirit of the dead, and now they travel together in a journey to find a way to liberate Antia from her spiritual form. Throughout the game, Red and Antia will find different people and spirits along the way, with different banishing quests and difficult situations being created by them. You'll have to choose if you can take the guilt of sacrifice in an attempt to resurrect Antia, or if you will leave her to ascend as a spirit. The gameplay of Banishers Ghosts of New Eden will have a focus on decision-making and a narrative structure reminiscent of Life is Strange, paired with gameplay that's somewhat similar to the likes of God of War 2018, presenting an explorable semi-open world in a third-person perspective, paired with RPG systems and combat. Players will travel through various landscapes of New Eden, which so far has included villages and forests, as well as icy peaks and eerie churches. Exploring the various locations of New Eden will involve climbing over obstacles and squeezing through narrow passages, as well as using skills and abilities to reach more restricted regions. As you progress through the game, you will unlock additional forms of traversal from skills and abilities, allowing you to explore areas that were previously inaccessible, revealing hidden locations and rewards. The character you play as you investigate New Eden will primarily be Red, but you will also be able to seamlessly swap to Antia at any point. Swapping to Antia will reveal the spirit realm variation of the normal environment that you see from Red's point of view. There hasn't been much shown about the spirit realm, but environmental puzzles within the game will utilize Antia's connection to the spirit realm, like a toned-down version of the Umbral realm in Lords of the Fallen. As mentioned before, throughout your journey, you'll meet unique characters who can shape the story and change the direction it takes. Players will need to invest time understanding each character's backstory, personality, and struggles to make the right decisions when the time comes. For example, choosing to spare or sacrifice a village leader who killed off the weak in their camp to regulate the amount of mouths there are to feed. Choosing to sacrifice people will contribute to Antia's resurrection, whereas sparing them will lead to Antia's ascent. Leaving people alive will undoubtedly change the future for better or worse, so it's in your hands to try and make the best decision possible with the information you have. Feels a little bit like The Witcher in this regard, since nothing is ever black and white. You will also find spirits of the dead in New Eden and uncover their history alongside Antia to ascertain how they lived and died. Antia can find memories within objects left behind by the departed that will allow Red and Antia to determine whether the spirits should be banished to the void, eternally tortured, or ascended, relieving them of their spiritual form. Red will perform rituals throughout the game as a means to summon powerful spirits known as scourges of specific areas. These encounters function as a boss battle, and the one shown in the gameplay trailer was known as the Beast, which seemed to be an amalgamation of souls who died in the forest after the village leader sent them in to prove their strength. We can assume that the players will have to fight many more scourges around New Eden, which are related to the tragedies in the backstories of the people you find. The RPG elements of the game are about what you'd expect from a single-player ARPG. You'll acquire various items from defeating enemies and exploring in the world, such as crafting materials like hoof fungus and wild chervil, or gear like sabers, rifles, or amulets. Campfires can be found scattered throughout the world, which serve as a hub for players to tinker with these items. At campfires, you can also rest to charge the decoction, a vital healing item, fast travel to other locations in New Eden, and evolve Antia's skills, allowing players to tailor their characters to suit their preferred playstyle. Equipable gear will include an outfit for armor, a saber and firebane, a rifle, an amulet, a wristband, a brooch, and a bane ring. On the bottom left, there is also a slot for decoctions, so maybe we'll find other possible decoctions that don't just heal Red, but empower him in combat in some form. All gear will have rarities as well as suffixes which add to Red's attributes or the effectiveness of equipment. For example, the saber and firebane have a melee physical damage stat and a blocked damage stat. It also improves the attributes Wisdom and Vitality and contains a special suffix highlighted in yellow, which seems to be a special effect that can only be found on specific equipment. The attributes and related stats shown include commonly seen attributes such as Strength, Dexterity, Willpower, Wisdom, and Vitality, as well as new attributes Wrath and Persistence. Underneath the attributes, you can see the survivability stat that likely builds off of attributes Health, Spirit, and Physical and Spectral Resistance. We can guess that to gain attributes naturally, you'll have to level up by defeating spirit enemies and scourge bosses. Materials you find in the world, like the aforementioned hoof fungus and wild churval, can be used to summon the scourge in rituals as well as upgrade your equipment at a campfire. Upgrading equipment will increase its rarity by 1, improving all suffixes on the weapon except for special passive suffixes highlighted in yellow. The last RPG aspect is skill trees, which unlock new spirit abilities for Antea. The trailer has shown 4 different abilities that Antea will unlock: Ensnare, Outburst, Leap, and another unnamed ability. Each ability has its own tree with different unlockable talents that upgrade Red and Antea in combat, such as restoring 10 HP when Red defeats an enemy, or increasing the damage of the subsequent attack after a parry. With only 4 abilities in the game, it seems likely that as you progress, you'll find and unlock these abilities like how you would unlock abilities in Metroidvania games. The combat of Banishers Ghosts of New Eden can be best described as a dance of blades and sorcery. When fighting enemies and bosses, players will be able to swap seamlessly between the physical and spiritual realms, embodying both Red and Antea, a unique approach to combat that seems fluid and engaging. The basic combat system incorporates the standard trio of blocking, parrying, and dodging, providing players with a basic range of defensive options. You can attack with either Antea or Red between physical realms using their respective powers, while at the same time using your defensive options. However, some attacks cannot be blocked or parried, such as the grab attack we saw from the Beast Scourge, which seemed to emit a flash of white light before passing through Red's block and dealing quite a lot of damage. Red, the physical combatant, wields the weaponry that you can equip at campfires, namely the saber, firebane, and rifle. Swapping to Antea enables players to transition to using her supernatural spirit powers, which can include abilities like teleportation and the circle force field, which deals damage. Most of the time, you'll be in Red's form in the physical realm, as there is a limitation on how much you can use Antea. The spirit bar on the bottom left, represented in blue, determines the number of attacks players can execute Antea's spectral form. This resource is consumed upon using her attacks and abilities and charged by attacking with red actions. Above the health bar is the banish gauge, depicted in red, which also charges by attacking enemies with red. Once fully charged, Red can execute an enemy by using his Banisher rings for a swift insta-kill or massive damages against bosses. This system seems to very much encourage players to be offensive in their fights in order to utilize Antea's powerful attacks, and Red's execute as much as they can. Enemies Red and Antea will face have been shown to be quite diverse. There is of course the Scourge boss, but in the lands of New Eden you can find many different types of ghosts. There are animal ghosts such as wolves, skeletal ghosts, and large mutant ghosts that probably used to be human, and something resembling a banshee in a church scene. It'll be interesting to see how different enemies will change the approach to combat. Perhaps some scourges will require investigation on weaknesses and resistances before fighting them in order to have the upper hand. Previously, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden was supposed to release about 3 months ago on the 7th of November, but was delayed in September and will now be releasing in a couple of weeks on the 13th of February with a total of 5 years in development. The game will be releasing on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and on PC on Steam. Final thoughts. Banishers Ghosts of New Eden seems to combine some of the best elements of narrative-driven gameplay that Dontnod is known for, while mixing in classic RPG customization and interesting combat using a dynamic character swapping system. And even though it is a bit worrying that there was a delay which was said to avoid an intense release window, nevertheless, from what we've been shown so far, I think it's safe to say that the concept and vision for Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is definitely there. So that wraps up our video on Banishers Ghosts of New Eden. I hope you guys learned something about this game. Are you excited for this one? There are a ton of games coming out in February, and I just wonder if this game might not get overlooked by a lot of players simply because of all the releases. Final Fantasy's coming out, Helldiver 2's is coming out, Nightingale's coming out. There are just a ton of games coming out in February. Let me know what you guys think. Are you planning on picking it up? Let me know in the comments below.